Hello grade 11 students. Today I am here to teach you an important lesson in your textbook that's called Share Market chapter 10. So first we need to understand the basic concept behind share market and the terms that we are using in the share market. So I'll teach you all these terms with an example. So let's take, I want to start a company, but I have a small amount in my hand. So I'll take 1000 rupees. It's easy to take 1000 rather than taking big numbers. So I want to start a company. So I need 1000 rupees. But I don't have money, only I have 100 rupees in my hand. So what I can do? I have to find money to start the company. So what I do, I need to search people who like to join my company. So what I can do, I am dividing the amount that I need into several parts. Let's say I want to divide this into 10 rupee parts. So here, the first thing, the money I want to start in my company is the capital of the company, the amount that needs to run a company. So learn the word capital there. Then I want to divide this amount into several parts. What are those called? Shares. Shares means number of parts which a company's capital is divided. Then if I divide each 10 rupee parts, how many parts I can find to get 1000 rupees? 1000 divided by 10, I get 100 parts. So I need 100 shares. So here I need 100 shares. So what I do, I need to first create a name. So I'll put CR Holdings, that's my initials. So I'll create a name and ask people to buy my shares. So what I do, I go to share market. What is share market? Where trading of shares occurs. So I create my company name CR Holdings and I ask people to buy my shares. So what is 10 rupee means? Market price or a share price. We call share price. One certificate we call in share market certificate worth 10 rupees. So what's the other word? Market price. Market price is 10 rupee in this example. Then I need to ask the share market to find people. Okay, let's say I found several people, but I also can buy shares. I have 100 rupees. So what I do, with 10 rupee worth shares, I can buy 10 shares. I'm also buying 10 shares. So CR also buying 10 shares. So what's the amount? 10 shares worth 10. I can collect 100 rupees. Then another person called Nimal. He will buy 20 shares from me. So 20 times 10, that's 200 rupees. Another person called Mala. buys 30 shares from me. 30 into 10, 300 rupees. Then a foreigner comes and buy Mr. X 40 shares from me. That's worth 400. Now count and see whether I can start my company. What's the total I'm getting? I am getting now 1000 rupees. Now I have enough money to start my company. So here another word I need to explain here. Shareholders. Who are shareholders? People who buy shares from the company. These people are shareholders. Then, do you think that people will buy shares for the same amount? We need to give something for them. So, when I advertise my company, I have to say, okay, after 1 year, I'm giving 4 rupees per share or any amount annually. So that's called dividends. I am giving 4 rupees, so 4 rupees annually. So that's called dividend. Payments out of the earnings of the company. Otherwise, people won't buy your shares. Then, when we are dealing with these type of trading, we call that's primary market. So the owner and the shareholders are dealing with buying shares directly from the company. So that's primary market, where investors buy new shares from the company. Now we'll see what secondary market is. Now let's see. After 1 year, Nimal wants to sell all his shares. So what he is doing, he asks another friend to buy his shares, but he is asking not 10 rupee for a share. He wants 14 rupees for a share. So another person, then the company cancel Nimal's name and put the new investor's name. So we'll say that's Sunil. Mala also wants to sell her shares. So she's doing that only for 8 rupees because she wants money fast. So what she does, she also quit from this company and giving to another friend. We'll say Sita. She is giving her shares worth 8 rupees, not 10 rupees. And this Mr. X also wants to sell, but he is selling at the same rate. So worth 10 rupees. Then his name also get cancelled and the new shareholder, Mrs. Y. Now, anybody can here sell shares. So when they are doing that, we call that's the secondary market. So this value is not depend on anybody. So anybody can give their shares with any price. But the company only gives worth 10 rupee shares. Now when we are doing these type of deals in the secondary market, some shareholders get gain, some shareholders get losses. Now, when you think about Nimal, 10 rupee worth share sold for 14 rupees. So, he's gaining money. So, that's called capital gain for Nimal. So, what's capital gain for Nimal? Capital gain is 14 rupees per share, earlier 10 rupees. So 14 minus 10. This is capital gain per share for Nimal. That's 4 rupees. What's the capital loss for Mala? Because 10 rupee worth share she sold for 8 rupees. So what is capital loss per share for Mala? That's 10 minus 8. So when you are doing this one, this is the selling price and this is the buying price for the capital gain. Selling price is higher than buying price. When you get a loss, what happens? Buying price is higher than selling price. So here this is loss, capital loss is 2 rupees per share. So now we know what's capital gain and capital loss. Now if I ask what's the ownership of the company, depend on number of shares, the ownership changes. Think about I bought 10 shares. So what's my ownership? So if I want to find out my ownership of the company, I have only 10 shares out of total 100 shares. As a percentage, multiply by 100 and see what's my ownership. I get 10% ownership for the company. So depend on number of shares, you can find out the ownership. So these are the terms that you need in share market. So what are the terms that we need to know? What's the capital of the company and how many shares are there? Market price and who are the shareholders? What's the dividend? What's primary market, secondary market, capital gain, capital loss and the ownership. So we'll try to do some examples and see how we can do those questions. Another term in your textbook, it's private limited companies and public limited companies. So what are public limited companies? Public limited companies raise capital to commence or continue their business by issuing shares or debentures to the general public. So people can buy shares. The public is notified regarding the issues of shares through the media. When the public buy shares, they have the right to sell these shares to others. The stock market is where the trading of these shares occurs. Private means only one person owns the company, not giving shares to others. Now we'll take this example. Example number 1. Piyal bought 20,000 shares out of 1 million. Find Piyal's ownership. So ownership depends on the number of shares you buy. So what's Piyal's ownership? he bought 20,000 shares out of 1 million. As a percentage, you can find out his ownership. So here 4 zeros get cancelled out with 4 zeros and this 2 get cancelled out with this 2. You get 2% ownership for PL. Look at the second example. Company A has stated capital of 20 million rupees. Market price of a share is 100 rupees and Rajitha buys 2000 shares. Find the amount Rajitha invested in the company. So what's the market price? 100 rupees per share. So what's Rajitha's invested amount in the company? So 2000 shares he bought worth 1 share 100 rupees. So 2000 into 100, 0, 0, 3 zeros and 2. So 200,000 rupees. Then the next one, find Rajitha's ownership. So what's the total capital of the company? 20 million. 20 million. Out of 20 million, Rajitha invested 200,000. As a percentage, you can multiply by 100. What's the value? 5 zeros cancel with 5 zeros. Another 2 zeros. 1 and 2 get cancelled out. You get 1% ownership. We'll take another example. Example number 3. Market price of a share is 100 rupees. The company pays annual dividend of 8 rupees per share. A person buys 4,000 shares from this company. Find the income as a percentage. Okay, so we'll write everything. What's the price, market price of a share? 100 rupees. Then what's the dividends? 1 share, 8 rupees, worth 8 rupees. And person buys how many shares? 4,000 shares from this company. Find the income as a percentage. So income means annually we are getting money from dividends. So what's the income? ₹8 per 1 share. How many shares bought? 4,000 shares are there. So 8 times 4, 32,000 rupees income. But they are asking find the income as a percentage. So what's the total amount spent? Total amount spent, each one 100 rupees, 4,000 shares are there. So what's the total price? 100 into 4,000. That's 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 400,000 rupees total and only 32,000 getting as dividends. So what's the percentage? Percentage income is out of 400,000 getting 32,000. As a percentage, you multiply by 100. 3 zeros get cancelled out with this 3. and 2 zeros with this 2. 32 divided by 4, you get 8% value. Question number 4. Investor buys 3,000 shares with market price 20 rupees. So 3,000 shares are there, market price 20 rupees. Company pays 4% per share as dividends. 4 rupees per share as dividends. Find the invested amount. So how can we find out the invested amount? There are 3,000 shares. One share worth 20 rupees. So multiply by 20. So you get 1, 2, 3. 2 times 3, 6. 60,000 is the amount invested. Find the income. Income you are getting from dividends. So what's the dividend value per share? That's 4 rupees. How many shares? 3,000. So 4 times 3,000, you get 12, 3 zeros, 12,000 rupees as the income from the company. Question number 5. You have given price of a share, number of shares, and you asked amount invested. So how we do? 2,000 into 10 in the first one. First one is 10 rupees per share and there are 2,000 shares. So what's the amount invested? 2,000 into 10. This is in rupees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. 20,000. Second one, 100 with 100,000 shares. 100 into 1,000. Or I can write same thing, 1,000 into 100. What's the value? How many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So 100,000. Next one, 30 per share and there are 5,000 shares. 5,000 into 30. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 times 3, 15. So 150,000. Next one, 80 per share and there are 40,000 shares. 40,000 into 80. So what's the value? 1, 2, 3 zeros. 8 times 4, 32. 320,000 rupees. Last one, price of one share is 20 and there are 10,000 shares. 10,000 multiplied by 20. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. 200,000. Look at this table. Price of a share is there. Now we have to find out number of shares, but amount invested is there. So what you do? Take the amount invested, divide by price per share. 40,000 divide by 20. So you get 2,000 shares are there. 80,000 is the invested amount. There are one share is 50 rupees. So how many shares are there? 5 times 1 for 36. 2 zeros. 1,600 shares. Next one, 12,000. 120,000 divide by 40. 1 0, you get 4 times 3. 1, 2, 3. 3,000 shares are there. Last one, 180,000 divide by 60. You get 3000. 3000 shares are there. So if you know the number of shares and the amount invested, you divide. Here, if you know this one, you multiply. Now we'll take the other way. You have given number of shares and amount invested. So when you divide amount invested by number of shares, you can find price per share. So what's the first one? 600,000 given. Divide by number of shares. There are 30,000 shares. So 4 zeros with this 4. 60 divided by 3. 20 rupees per share. 120,000 invested money. Divide by 60,000. Shares are there. 4 zeros. You get 120,000 with 60,000. So what's the price of one share? Only 2 rupees. This one, 800,000 and 40,000 are there. 800,000 over 40,000 shares are there. So you get 4 zeros get cancelled out. 80 divided by 4, you get 20 rupees per share. Last one, 140,000. 140,000 rupees and 700 shares are there. So what's the price of one share? 200 rupees. So when you know number of shares and amount invested, you can divide and find out the price of a share. Now we'll see, this one is number of shares given and the dividend per share is given. Annual income. So normally we get the income from dividends. So there are 500 shares. Each one is 8 rupees. So what's the annual income? 500 into 8. That's also in rupees. 8 times 5, 40, 2 zeros, 4,000 rupees. 4,000 number of shares, one is 5 rupees. So what's the income? The annual income, 4,000 into 5. 3 zeros, 5 times 4, 20. So 20,000 rupees as the annual income. This one, 3,006 per share. So 6,000, not 6,000, 3,000. 3,000 multiplied by 6. 3 zeros and 6 times 3, 18. 18,000 as the annual income. Let's take another example. Pradeep received 180,000 as income annually. Company gives 3 rupees for a share as dividend. Price of a share is 20 rupees. Find the amount Pradeep invested. Now we need to first find out number of shares. So what's the price of a share? 20 rupees, and Pradeep received 180,000 income annually. How you get the income? From the dividends. So when you divide this number by the price per share as the dividend, you get how many shares are there. So first thing you have to calculate number of shares. What's the number of shares? 180,000 divided by 3. So how many shares? 3 times 6. So 6 with 3 zeros. So 60,000 shares Pradeep bought. Find the amount Pradeep invested. Pradeep invested amount is 60,000 shares. 1 share worth 20 rupees multiplied by 20. So what's the amount? 0 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 times 6, 12. So this is 1,200,000 rupees. Let's take this question. Fatima has 30,000 rupees and invested half of her money in a company which share price is 15 rupees. So we'll write down 30,000 she had and half of money. What is half of money? 15,000, which money in a company which share price is 15 rupees and dividend is 3 rupees. The other half, other 15,000 invested in a company which share price is 20 and the dividend is 4. Find the total amount of income from both companies. Now we'll take this one is first company. This is the first company and this is the second company. So we'll first find out how many shares in the first company. Number of shares in first company. So 15,000 invested and one worth 15 rupees. So how many shares bought? 1,000 shares from first company. So how many shares from the second? Now we can find out the income from the first company. Income from first company is 1,000 shares worth 3 rupees each as the dividend. 3,000 rupees. Now we'll take the second company. Number of shares in the second company. $15,000 invested and one share worth 20 rupees. So 750 shares are there. So what's the income from the second company? Income from the second company is 750 shares, one worth 4 rupees. So 4 times 0, 0, 4 times 5, 20, 4 times 7, 28, plus 2, 30, 3,000 rupees. So what's the total income from both companies? Total income is 3,000 plus 3,000. So altogether 6,000 rupees Fatima can earn from both the companies. Question number 8. A company sells 1 million shares worth 20 rupees each and giving dividend of 4 rupees annually. Kosala buys 40,000 shares. Find the capital of the company. So what's the capital? There are altogether 1 million shares. Each share is 20 rupees. So 1 million multiplied by 20. So what's the value? I'll write here. How many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 times 1, 2. It's 20 million rupees. Amount invested by Kosala. Now Kosala buying 40,000 shares. So what's the amount invested? 40,000 shares, one worth 20 rupees. So the amount Kosala invested is how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 times 2, 8. 800,000 rupees invested. Amount Kosala gets from dividends. Now every year he is getting 4 rupees per share. So how many shares altogether? 40,000. 40,000 into 4. 4 times 4, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means 160,000 rupees. Percentage income of Kosala. He invested 800,000 rupees in the company and he is getting 160,000 as the income. As a percentage, you multiply by 100. 4 zeros get cancelled out with this 4 zeros, and then 4 times 16 times 5, you get 80. 100 divided by 5, 20% as the percentage income of Kosala. Question number 9. Cyril bought 4,000 shares worth 30 per share and sold all his shares when the market price reached to 40 rupees. Find the percentage capital gain of Cyril. So what's the capital gain per share? Here I can do 2 ways. First, I can do finding the total amount and then subtracting. So I'll do the method 1 first. So 40,000 worth 30 rupees. So what's the invested amount? Invested amount 30 into 4,000. 1, 3 zeros and 12. 120,000. After selling, he got this amount. Selling amount 40 per share into 4,000. That's 1, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the total amount, 160,000 rupees. Then what's the gain? Gain is the difference. 160,000 minus 120,000. What you get? 1, 2, 3 and 40,000 rupees. So now you can find out the percentage capital gain. Gain is 40,000 and he invested 120,000 into 100. This is the percentage capital gain. Four zeros, 4 times 300 divided by 3, you get 33 1/3%. Without finding the total amount, I can easily do with the price per share. So what I can do, what's the gain per share? $40 is the selling price, buying price is 30. So 10 rupees gain per share. So what's the percentage gain? Straight away I can find out 10 rupee gain for 30 rupee investing money. So into 100 as a percentage. So 100 divided by 3, you get the same answer, 33 1/3%. So this is the easiest way to do. So remember that if you are asked to find out the percentage gain or percentage loss, you can take the price per share and take the difference. Question number 10. Siripala invested 60,000 in company P. 60,000, that gives 3 rupees as dividend and the share price is 15 rupees. He also invested 36,000 in company Q, that gives 4 rupee dividend and the share price is 18 rupees. What is the total income from both companies? So we need to find out how many shares for each company and then find out the income separately. So first we'll find out for company P, number of shares. So 60,000 invested, each one worth 15 rupees. So 15 times 4, so 4,000 shares are there. So what's the income from company P is 4,000 into 3 rupees per 1 share. 4 times 3, 12, 12,000 rupees. What's the Q1 number of shares? Number of shares for Q company. Altogether he spent 36,000. 1 share worth 18 rupees. 18 times 2. So you get 2,000 shares for company Q. Now what's the income from company Q? 2,000 into 4. So you get 8,000 rupees from company Q. What's the total income? So total income is, you can add both. So income from company A is 12,000 and from company Q is 8,000. So altogether 20,000 rupees is the total income from both companies. Question number 11. Ratnasekara spent a certain amount from 96,000 he had in hand. So altogether 96,000 to buy shares at 15 per share in company P, which pays annual dividends of 3 rupees per share. He spent remaining amount What's the remaining amount? We have to subtract from 96,000. We'll say X is the invested amount in company P. What's the remaining amount for Q? 96,000 minus X. Then what's the value for company Q? He spent remaining amount to buy shares at 18 rupees in company Q, which pays annual dividends of 4 per share. If the total income from both companies was 20,000. Both companies, the income is 20,000. Find the amount he invested in each company. So we have to find X and 96,000 minus X. So it's easy to put X as a number of the invested amount in company P as X, and we can solve it easily. Now first find out number of shares in P company. Invested X amount and each share is 15 rupees. That's the number of shares in company P. So what's the income? Income from company P is X over 15 multiplied by 3 rupees, because you are getting 3 rupees per share. So that's income from company P. Now we'll do for company Q. Number of shares for company Q. This is the invested amount, 96,000 minus X over, what's the price of a share? 18. And then what's the price for a dividend value? That's 4 rupee per share. So we'll simplify first. 2 times this, 2 times 9. And we'll multiply by 2 here. 2 times 96,000, you are getting 3 zeros. 2 times 6, 12. 2 times 9, 18 plus 1, 19. 192,000 divide by 9 minus 2x. Now this is the number of shares and the income. Here I multiplied straight away. Then what's the total income from both companies? Total income is the addition. Total income from both companies, both P and Q. What's the total income? This value. So here I can simplify this. 3 times 5 and write X over 5. So X over 5 plus 192,000 minus 2x over 9. That's the total income, but we know that the total income from both companies is 20,000. So you get an equation to solve. Now we'll solve for X and find out the amount invested in company P. So we'll do that now. How we simplify this? What's the denominator? 9 and 5. Common denominator is 45. We'll multiply everything by 45. X over 5 multiplied by 45. 45 times 192 minus 2x over 9 and 20,000 into 45. 5 times 9, 9 times 5. So you get 9x here. 5 times minus 2x minus 10x plus 5 times this number. 1, 2, 3 zeros. 5 times 2, 10. 1 remaining. 5 times 9, 45 plus 1, 46. 4 remaining. 5 times 1, 5 plus 4, 9. 960,000 is equal to how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 times 45 is 90. That's 900,000. So take this one to this side and this number here, because 9x minus 10x is minus x. We'll take minus x to the other side. So you get x is equal to 960,000 minus 900,000. So you get 60,000. So this person, who's that? Ratnasekara, invested 60,000 in company P. So I can find out what's the amount he invested in company Q. 96,000 minus this. So what's the other number? 96,000 minus 60,000. You get 1, 2, 3, 6, 3. So this is 60,000 is the invested amount in company P. 36,000 is invested in company Q. That's how we find out the invested amount in each company. We'll take this example, question number 12. You have given invested amount, share price and dividend per share and income. So here in the first example, all these values given, you are asked to find out number of shares. So how can we find out number of shares? Invested amount, that's 40,000, divide by share price. 2,000 shares are there. Then how we find out the income? Dividend per share is there, 2,000 number of shares. So we multiply 2,000 into 3. So 6,000 rupees. This is in rupees, 6,000 rupees as the income. This example, second one, invested amount is 60,000 and share price is 30. So you can find out number of shares by 60,000 divide by 30. 2,000 shares. But now the income is given. How can we find out the dividend per share? You can divide 80,000 divide by 2,000. That's 40 rupees as the dividend. Now look at this example. You can start from here. Income is given 50,000. Dividend price is 5 rupees. So you can find number of shares using this one. So 50,000 divide by 5. So 10,000 shares are there. Then you can find out the invested amount. Number of shares 10,000, each one 25 rupees. So 10,000 multiplied by 25, you get 25 4 zeros. That means 250,000. So all these in rupees. Then the last one, again we can start from here. The income is 49,000 and each dividend per share is 7 rupees. So 4930 divided by 7, you get 7,000 shares. If you know 7,000, how can we find out the share price? Invested amount divided by number of shares. So 140,000 rupees divided by 7,000, you get share price. 20 rupees for the share price. We'll take question number 13. A company that gives annual dividends at 5 rupee per share and the market price of a share is 20 rupees. Sagala invested 80,000 rupees in this company. Find Sagala's percentage income. So first we need to find out number of shares he bought. So number of shares, he spent 80,000 worth one share 20 rupees. So you get 4,000 shares Sagala bought. Then we can find out the percentage income. Income he gets 4,000 into the dividend value. Dividend is 5 rupees. 5 times 4, 20 with 3 zeros, that's 20,000 rupees as the income. He invested 80,000. So what's the percentage income? He received 20,000 rupees out of 80,000 multiplied by 100 as a percentage. So 4 zeros, you get 2, 4. 100 divided by 4, 25%. Question number 14. Ruan bought 4,000 shares worth 50 rupee per share and sold all his shares when the market price reached to 60 rupees. Find the percentage gain, capital gain of Ruan. So what's the easiest method we used? We can use the difference. So percentage gain is equal to gain. Gain is difference between these two divided by the price per share. That's buying price into 100. 50 times 2. 60 minus 50 is 10. 10 times 2, you get 20%. 15th question. Siridasa invested 66,000 in a company worth 30 rupees per share. After 1 year, he received 20% of he invested as dividends. Later, he sold all his shares at 40 rupees. Find the dividend per share that company has given. So we need to first find out what's the income for dividends. He got 20% of the invested amount. Income is equal to 66,000 into 20%. 13,200 rupees. Then we want to find out how many shares are there. So number of shares, how can we find out? 66,000 divided by 30. 2,200. So what's the price of one dividend? Price per dividend. Total income is 13,200. There are 2,200 shares. You get 6 rupees is the price per dividend. Question number 16. Someone bought shares at 50 rupees per share and sold all his shares and received 40% invested amount as dividends. Find the selling price of a share. I'll take selling price as X. So what's the percentage gain? Percentage gain is selling price minus the income, the buying price over buying price into 100. That's given 40. That's given 40%. So we can solve for X and find out the selling price. So 50 and 100, you get 2. 2 times X, 2X minus 100 is equal to 40. 2X equals 40 plus 100, 140. So what's X? Divide by 2, you get 70 as X. So what's the selling price? Selling price is equal to 70 rupees. Question number 17. Amila borrowed 60,000 at an annual simple interest rate of 12% and invested in a company that gives 6 rupee as dividends and the share price 30 rupees. After 3 years, he sold all his shares for 38 rupees. Find the profit he received after settling the loan. So what's the amount he needs to pay back? That he borrowed 60,000 for the borrowed amount for 3 years. This is for 3 years we need to find out. So amount needed to settle. So what's this interest value? 60,000. The borrowed money is 60,000. Interest rate is 12%. And this is for 3 years. Plus the borrowed money is the total amount needed to settle. First we'll simplify this. 12 times 3, 36. 36 times 6. 6 times 6, 36. 3 remaining. 6 times 3, 18. Plus 3, 21. How many zeros? 2 zeros. So 21,600 plus 60,000. You get 81,600 rupees. Now, what's the amount? Here, when he invested in that company, we need to first find number of shares. Number of shares. $60,000 invested and each share is 30 rupees. So how many shares bought? 2000 shares bought. And what's the income from dividends? Income he gets after 3 years. 2000 shares, each one 6 rupees and 3 years. 6 times 3, 18 times 2, 36. 1, 2, 3, 36,000 rupees. And after selling all the shares, what's the income he is getting? Selling. So income from selling. 38 into 2000 shares. 1, 2, 3, 2 times 8, 16. 2 times 3, 6 plus 1, 7. So altogether, total amount he received 36,000 and 76,000. 112,000 rupees. So what's the profit? Profit is equal to, subtract this to 112,000 rupees minus 81,600. ₹30,400. Example 1 in your textbook. Company C, which has a stated capital of 10 million, issues 100,000 shares to the public at 100 rupees per share. Vishwa buys 5,000 of these shares. First part, express Vishwa's share in the company. So altogether, there are 100,000 shares. So he bought 5,000 shares. 5,000 shares divided by 100,000, you get the number as fraction. 3 zeros get cancelled out. 5 divided by 100, you get 1/20. As a percentage, we can multiply it by 100. 2 times 5, so you get 5% as a percentage value. Then part 2, find the amount that Vishwa invested in company C. So invested amount, ₹5,000 shares, one worth 100 rupees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 500,000 rupees. Example number 1. Company C pays annual dividend of 4 per share for the 100 shares worth ₹100 shares it issued, of which Vishwa bought 5,000 shares. First part, find the annual income that Vishwa receiving through this investment. So how many shares he bought? 5,000. So what's the income? Income is number of shares into dividend price. So that's 4 rupees. 20 and 3 zeros. 20,000 rupees. Second part, express Vishwa's annual income as a percentage of the amount he invested. So we need to find out the invested amount. What's the invested amount? 5,000 shares he bought, worth one share 100 rupees. 5 and how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 500,000 rupees. So they're asking as a percentage. So what is the percentage value? Income as a percentage. Income is 20,000 rupees out of 500,000 rupees into 100. 50 times 2, 2 times 2, 4%. Exercise 10.1. An investor purchases 1,000 shares of value 25 rupees in the company Sasiri Apparels. How much did the person invest? So what's the invested amount? 1,000 shares, one worth 25 rupees. So 25 with 3 zeros, that's 25,000 rupees. Part 2. If the company pays annual dividend 4 rupees per share, find the investor's annual dividends income. So what's the annual dividends income? 1,000 shares are there and each one he gets 4 rupees. So that's 4,000 rupees. Question number 2. Complete the following table. So price of a share given, number of shares given, amount invested. So just multiply these two. Number of shares multiplied by price per share. You get amount invested. 10 into 2,500, you get 25 with 3 zeros, 25,000 rupees. 20 into 5,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 2, 10, 100,000. Now this one other way around. Amount invested given and number of shares given. So how can we find out price of a share? You divide. So 50,000 divide by 500, you get 100 shares are there. The price per share is 100 rupees. What about this one? Amount invested is 80,000. Divide by 4,000. You get price per share is 20 rupees. This one, price per share given and the amount invested given, you can find out number of shares by 30,000. Divide by 30. 1,000 shares are there. And also this one, 135,000 given and price per share is 45. So you get 3 times this. So 3,000 shares are there. Part 2. Number of shares given and the annual dividends per share given, and you are asked to find out the annual dividends income. So what we do? You just multiply. 500 times 2, you get 1,000 rupees as annual dividends income. 1,000 times this one, 3.5, you get 3,500 rupees. Now the other way around. Annual dividend income is given and price per share given. You can find out number of shares by dividing. 5,000 divided by 5, you get 1,000 shares. Here 500,000 over 2.5. So multiply by 10, you get 25. We put a 0 there. So what's the value? You get 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what's the value? Number of shares, 200,000 shares are there. This one, annual dividend given and number of shares given. You can find out the annual dividend per share by dividing 8,000 divided by 2,000. You get 4 rupees, and here 2,250 divided by 750, you get 3 rupees as the annual dividend per share. Question number 3. A public limited company issues 10 million shares to the public at 25 per share to raise the capital. The company pays annual dividends of 5 per share. Sujiva purchased 50,000 shares in the company. Part 1. Find the stated capital of this company. So what's the capital? Capital is 10 million shares are there worth 25 rupees. So 25 with 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what's the value? 250 million. Part 2. Find the amount Sujiva invests in this company. So what's the Sujiva? He bought 50,000 shares. So 50,000 shares worth 25 rupees. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, and 5 times 25 is 125. You get 1,250,000 rupees. Third part, find the dividends Sujiva receives annually through this investment in shares. Total income is 50,000 shares and 5 rupees you are getting. 5 times 5, 25, and 4 zeros. 250,000 rupees. And fourth one, what percent of the amount he invested is the annual dividends he receives? What's the percentage value? He gets 250,000 rupees out of, he invested 1,250,000. As a percentage, you multiply by 100. 4 zeros and 25 times 5. 100 divided by 5, you get 20%. And fourth question, Mahela bought a certain number of shares at 20 per share in a company which pays annual dividends of received 3 rupees per share. His dividends income at the end of a year from this investment was 12,000. Find the number of shares. How can we find out number of shares? We know the total income and the price per share. So we can just divide total income divided by price per share, as the dividend is number of shares. So he bought 4,000 shares. And find the amount Mahela invested to buy shares in this company. So the invested amount is 4,000 into 20 rupee per share. 80,000 rupees he invested. Fifth question. Ganesh spends exactly half of 100,000 rupees to buy a certain number of 25 rupee shares in a company that pays annual dividends of 4 rupees per share. He decides to deposit the remaining amount in a financial institute which pays an annual interest rate of 12%. So here this half of this one he spent here. So 50,000 for this one and the other 50,000 in a bank. Show with reasons which of the two investments is more advantageous. So we'll see. This is after 1 year. We'll see what happens. If he invests in the bank 12% with simple interest rate. Now when he invests this amount in the bank, we'll see what's the interest he is getting. Interest from investing in the bank. $50,000 he invested with 12% interest. 6,000 rupees he can get as the interest. What happens when he buys shares? So how many shares he can buy? Number of shares he can buy? 50,000 divided by 25. You get 2,000 shares. So what's the income he gets from these shares? 2,000 shares, each one 4 rupees. 4 times 2, you get 8,000 rupees. So which one is more advantageous? Investing in the share market, because you get 6,000 only when you invest in the bank. So 8,000 is greater than 6,000. So better to invest in a company. With shares. Example number 1. Mr. Perera, who invests in the stock market, bought 2,000 shares in a certain company when the market price of a share was 20 rupees. When the market price of a share increased to 25, he sold all his shares. Find the amount Mr. Perera invested in the company. So what's the invested amount? He bought 2,000 shares, one worth 20 rupees. So the value is 3 zeros here. 2 times 2, 4. 40,000 rupees. Part 2, find the amount he made by selling the shares. So selling price is 25,000. So what's the amount? He received by selling 2,000 shares. Now one share worth 25 rupees. So you get 3 zeros. 2 times 25, 50. 50,000 rupees. Third part, find his capital gain. Why it's a gain? Selling price is more than the buying price. So what's the gain? 50,000 minus 40,000 rupees. That's 10,000 rupees. Fourth part, what's the? Express his capital gain as a percentage. So percentage gain. 10,000 is a gain out of 40,000 he spent, multiplied by 100. 4 zeros, 100 divided by 4, 25%. Without using this, what's the other method? I discussed this before. You can do this same thing in a different way. So percentage gain is using the separate prices. So here 20 and 25. So selling price is 25 per share minus 20 per share, and the buying price is 20 times 100. So that way also you can do it. 25 minus 20 is 5. 5 divided by 20 into 100. 5 times 4, 100 divided by 4, that's 25%. Example number 2. Mr. Mohammed spent a certain amount from the 96,000 he had in hand. So he had 96,000 rupees. To buy shares at 18 per share in company A, which pays annual dividend of 2 rupees per share. He spent the remaining amount. So remaining amount in company B, share value is 21 rupees and 350 is the dividend value. At the end of the year, he received 1,000 more as annual dividends income from company B. So B dividend is greater than A, 1,000 more. By taking the amount that Mr. Mohammed invested in company A as X. So they are asking, take this one as X, construct an equation in X, find the amount he invested in each company by solving the above equation. Okay, so if this is X, what's here? 96,000 minus X, because the rest of the money he invested in company B. Now we'll use the amount he invested. Using this information, you can construct an equation. At the end of the year, he received 1,000 more as annual dividends. So first thing, you have to find out number of shares for each company. Number of shares for company A, spent X, and each share is 18 rupees, and then when you multiply by 2, you get income from dividends. Income from dividends is X over 18 into 2. What about company B? Number of shares. Number of shares for B. The amount is 96,000 minus X. Divide by, what's the value? 21. And when you want to find out the income from dividend, you have to multiply by 350. 350 I'll write as 7 over 2 as a fraction. Now simplify. 7 times 3, 3 times 2, 6. So you get 96,000 minus x over 6. So what's the total income? Total income is not given. This one in company B gets 100 more than company A. So when you take the difference, 96,000 minus x over 6 minus, here also I'll simplify first, 2 times 1, 2 times 9, x over 9. X over 9 is equal to 1000. That's what it says here. The difference between number of dividends from income from dividends in B is more than company A. Now we'll need to simplify. So what's the lowest common multiple of 6 and 9? What's the number? 18. So if we can multiply this by 18, you can get rid of this denominator. I'll multiply all these terms by 18. 6 times 3, so 3 times this. 3 times 6, 18, 1 remaining, 3 times 9, 27 plus 1, 28. Minus 3x, here you get 2x is equal to 18 with 3 zeros. So 5x you are getting minus 5x when I take it to the other side. 5x equals 288 with 3 zeros minus 18,000. What's the value? 270,000 is equal to 5x. So what is x? Divide by 5. 54,000 rupees for x. So that means invested amount in A is 54,000 and in B 96,000 minus 54,000. What's the value? 42,000 rupees. That's the invested. So in this question, they ask find the amount he invested in each company by solving the above equation. Now we'll move to the next part. Find the number of shares he had in each company. Now we need again the information. So what's the value for A? 54,000 invested. B 42,000. And what's the price for A 18 and 21? So we can find out number of shares using this information. Number of shares A is 54,000 divide by 18, that's 3,000 shares. Number of shares for B 42,000 divide by 21, 2,000 shares. So that's the number of shares he had in each company. Fourth part. Find the annual dividends income he received from each company. So what's the dividend from A. He had 3,000 shares, each one. What's the dividend value? From the previous part, A2 and 350 for B. A2 and here 350. So this is multiplied by 2. So 6,000 rupees. What's the dividends from B? Number of shares 2,000 into 350. So you get 7,000. Now the next part. After receiving the annual income, Mr. Mohammed sold all the shares he owns in both companies at the market price of 20 rupees per share. Find the total amount he made by selling all his shares in both companies. We'll take A company. How many shares in A company? 3,000 and in B 2,000. So you can find out after selling what's the amount he got. Total amount he made by selling. Selling from A shares 20 into 3,000. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he gets 60,000 rupees. From B, selling each one is 20 rupees, 2,000 shares were there. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 40,000 rupees. So find the total amount that he made by selling. So the total is 60,000 plus 40,000. You get 100,000 rupees. 100,000 rupees. And then part 6. Show that Mr. Mohammed expectations of making a profit of 20% on his original investments through the dividends income and the capital gains was not fulfilled. What's the total income he got from dividends? Total income from dividends. Here, dividends from A, B. So 6,000 and 7,000. So total income from dividends 6,000 and 7,000, 13,000 rupees. So show that Mr. Mohammed's expectation of making a profit of 20% on his original investment through the dividends, income and capital gains was not fulfilled. So what's the amount he got from selling? Here selling, he got 100,000. So total income from both. What's the total income from both? 13,000 plus 100,000. 113,000 rupees. Now, to find out this income and capital gains was not fulfilled, you need to find out now what's the amount he invested for those two companies. He invested, can you remember, 96,000 rupees. He invested 96,000 rupees. So therefore, what's the percentage, the profit, percentage profit. Profit is the difference between these two. 113 zeros minus 96,000 divide by 96,000 into 100. We'll find out the value. Two zeros get cancelled out. 3 zeros there. 6 and 7, 13, 1 remaining and 1. 17,000 over 96, here 960 as a percentage. 1 0 get cancelled out. 1,700 divided by 96. 1, that's 96. What's the remainder? 74 for 740. 7 times 6, 42. 4 remaining. 7 times 9, 63 plus 4, 67. 8 remaining. So 680. That's 7 again. So what's the percentage roughly? 17.7%. So what was his expectation? 20%. So this is less than 20%. So we have to show that it's not fulfilled. So 20,000. So 17.7% is less than 20%. So not fulfilled his requirements. Exercise 10.2. Complete the following table. Amount invested, market price of a share, number of shares and income from annual dividends of 3 rupees per share. So we can find out number of shares by dividing these two numbers. 50,000 divide by 25. You get 2,000. So each one is 3 rupees. 2,000 into 3, you get 6,000 rupees. So second one, income from annual dividends is 1,500, but we know each one is 3 rupees. So how can we find out number of shares? 1,500 divided by 3, you get 500. Then we know number of shares 500, each one is 40. What's the invested amount? 500 into 40, you get 20,000. This one, 3,000 is there, divide by 3, you get 1,000 rupees. 1,000 and here 75,000 is there, 75,000 divide by 1,000, you get number of shares 75. This one how we do? Number of shares is given, 15 is the market price. What's the amount invested? 15 times 500, 7,500. And how can we find out this? Income from annual dividends, 500 shares, each 3 rupees, 1,500 rupees. This one again, divide these two, you can get number of the price per share. 120,000 divide by 2,000, you get 60 is the market price. And how we find out this one? Income from annual dividend. There are 2000 shares, each worth 3 rupees, 6000 rupees. Question number 2. Tarindu invested 60,000 rupees and bought shares in a company at the market price 30 rupees per share. The company pays annual dividend of 4 per share. First part, find the number of shares Tarindu bought. So how we find out number of shares? $60,000 divide by 30. 2,000 shares. Part 2, find the annual dividends income that Tarindu receives from this investment. Each one is 4 rupees. So income from dividends is 2,000 shares into 4, that's 8,000 rupees. Part 3, what percentage of the amount invested is the annual dividends income? Percentage amount invested is the annual dividend income. Annual dividend income is 8,000 out of total 60,000 he invested into 100. 3 zeros, 1 0 get cancelled out with this one. 2 times 3, 2 times 5. So 40 over 3. Can write down 3 times 1 for 10. That's the 3 times 3, 9 and 1/3. 13 and 1/3%. Question number 3. Ramesh bought 5,000 shares in a certain company. When the market price was 40 rupees, he then sold all these shares when the market price had increased to 50 rupees. Find Ramesh's capital gain per share. What's the capital gain? Selling price is 50. This is capital gain per share. Buying price is 40. So 10 rupees. Part 2. Find his capital gain due to selling all the shares. So 5,000 shares are there. So capital gain from selling. Altogether 5,000 shares were there. And what was the selling price? 50. 5 times 5, 20. 4 zeros. 250,000 rupees. Part 3. Express his capital gain as a percentage of the amount invested. So what's the capital gain from selling? Here gain is 10 rupees and there are 5,000 shares. So 5 with 4 zeros, 50,000 rupees. And then the third part, express his capital gain as a percentage of the amount invested. So what's the invested amount? He bought 40 rupee worth share and 5,000 shares were there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 20. That's 200,000 rupees. So what's the percentage value? 50,000 gain out of 200,000 into 100. 100 divided by 4, 25%. Question number 4. A businessman invested 40,000 and bought shares in a certain company. At the market price 40 per share. At the end of a year, he received dividends of 10% on his investment. After receiving this income, he sold all his shares at 50 rupees. First part, find the annual income the businessman received from the company. So what's the annual income? We need to find out the number of shares. So number of shares is 40,000 divided by 40. 4,000 divided by 4. There are 1,000 shares. So what was the first part? Find the annual income the business received from the company. So here, without this, you can find out straight away from 10% of the invested amount. So the annual income, 10% of the invested amount, 40,000. That's 4,000 rupees. Second part, find the annual dividends from the company paid per share. Annual dividends, so we need to find out annual dividends the company paid per share. Annual dividends per share is, we know, 4,000 annual income and 1,000 shares are there. So you get 4 rupees as the dividend value per share. Then part 3, find the amount the businessman received by selling his shares. So selling all the shares, what's the income? 50 rupees each one and 1,000 shares are there. 50,000 rupees he gets from selling all his shares. Fourth part, find his capital gain. So what's the capital gain? Difference between the selling price and the buying price. So capital gain is 50,000 minus he spent 40,000. So that's 10,000 rupees. And part 5, express his capital gain as a percentage of the amount invested. Percentage capital gain is 10,000 and he invested 40,000 rupees into 100. 4 zeros, 100 divided by 4, you get 25%. Fifth one, a person who invested in a company and bought shares at the market price of 20 rupees per share, sold all his shares on an occasion when the market price increased. His capital gain from this sale was 80% of his investment. What was his capital gain per share? So we don't know the selling price. So if selling price is X, how can we write down the percentage capital gain? Percentage capital gain is X minus 20 divided by 20 into 100. That's 80% given. So straight away you can find out this. Divide by 20, 5 times x, 5x minus 100 equals 80. 5x equals 180. X equals divide by 5. 36 rupees. So what was his capital gain per share? So capital gain is selling price is 36 rupees and the buying price is 12, so 16 rupees. Part 2. At what price did he sell each share? 36 rupees. So selling price. What price did he sell? Selling price is 36 rupees. Question number 6. A person bought shares in a company at the market price of 24 per share and sold the shares when the market price per share was 30. Express his capital gain as a percentage of the amount invested. So you can straight away use these values. What's the percentage capital gain? Selling price minus the buying price over the buying price into 100. 30 minus 24 is 6. 6 over 24 into 100. 6 times 4, 100 divided by 4, you get 25%. Question number 7. A person bought 1000 shares in a company which pays annual dividends 6 rupees per share at the market price 40 per share. After receiving dividends for a year, he sold his shares on an occasion when the market price of the shares had increased. His total income from the dividends and the sale of shares was 71,000 rupees. So first part, how much was the annual dividends income from this investment? So annual income is 1000 shares, each 6 rupees, 6,000 rupees. Part 2. What was the selling price of a share? Now here this is the annual income he gained from the shares, so 6,000 rupees, but the total income is 71,000 rupees. So what's the income? So this is from dividends and from the sales. Income from sales. You have to subtract 71,000 minus 6,000. So what's the value? You get 65,000 rupees. Now we know that he spent 40 times 1,000 rupees to buy shares. So we can find out buying price is 40 into 1,000. That's equal to 40,000 rupees. So what's the profit from selling? Profit from selling is difference between these two values. So 65,000 minus 40,000, you get 25,000 rupees. That's the profit from selling. So we know 1,000 shares are there. So what's the profit from a share? So we can find out profit from a share is from one share is 25,000 divided by 1,000, 25 rupees he gets more. Buying price is 40 rupees. So what's the selling price? Therefore, selling price is 40 plus 25. You get 65 rupees is the selling price. Now the third part, find his capital gain. So what's the capital gain? This is third part. Capital gain is, selling price is 65 and the buying price is 40. So the extra 65 minus 40 times 1000 shares are there. So multiply by 1000, you get the capital gain. 65 minus 40 is 25 times 1000. 25,000 rupees he gets as his capital gain. Question number 8. Devinda invested equal amounts in 2 companies. He bought shares in one company which pays annual dividends of 4 per share at the market price of 20 per share. And the shares in the second company, this is the first company, second company which pays annual dividends 5 rupee per share at the market price of 25 per share. Express his income from each company as a percentage of the amount invested. Hint, take the amount that he invested in each company to be X. So we'll take X because equal amount, both X. Then we can form an equation. So they are asking express his income from each company. So first we have to find out number of shares. Company 1. So invested X amount, 20 each one. So X over 20, and the number of shares for second company, X amount invested, and each one is 25 rupees. So here, what's the income from A? Income you can find out from number of shares into 4 rupees. Income from second company, we can find out this one multiplied by 5. So what's the total income? Total income is, you add these two. Here first I'll simplify. X over 5 here. X over 5. Both X over 5. So what's the total income? X over 5 plus X over 5. You get 2X over 5. So what's the percentage value? It says find the percentage amount invested total income over the total invested into 100. 2x get cancelled out. 100 divided by 5. You get 20% value. Question number 9. An investor invested a certain amount from the 70,000 rupees in hand. to buy shares in a company which pays annual dividends 3 per share at the market price 30. The rest in another company pays dividends of 4 rupees per share, bought shares at the market price of 20. If his dividends income for a year from these investments was 9,500, altogether 9,500, find the amount he invested in each company. So we'll take the first company, invested amount is X. So what's the invested amount in the second company? 70,000 minus X. So we can form an equation for the total income. Total income, that's 9,500, is equal to income from first company. X divided by 30 is number of shares multiplied by 3, plus second company 70,000 minus X is the invested amount, divide by 20, that's number of shares, multiplied by 4 is the number of the income from second company. Now we can simplify. This is 10. I'll keep it here 10. So you can add X plus 2 times 70, 140,000 minus 2x over 10. X and minus 2x, you get minus x plus 140,000 divide by 10. That's given 9,500. Find x by solving the equation. Multiply by 10 here, you get 95,000 is equal to minus x plus 140,000 rupees. So x equals 140,000 minus 95,000. So 45,000 is the x value. So that means he invested in the first company 45,000 rupees and in the second company, how much? 70,000 45,000. What's the value? Find out. 5, 5, 10, 1 remaining, 5, so 25,000. So find the amount he invested in each company, that's 45,000 and 25,000. Question number 10. An investor who owned 4,000 shares in a company which pays annual dividends of 5 per share sold all his shares when the market price was 45 rupees per share. He spent all the money he received by selling these shares to buy shares in another company. And the market price 25 per share. From this investment, he gained an annual dividend income which was 8,800, more than what he received from his previous investment. So second one more, first one, that's 8,800. Find the annual dividends per share that the second company paid. So first we need to find out the amount he received by selling. Selling price. 45 one share, 4,000 shares were there. ₹180,000. And what was the income from first company? ₹4,000 into 5. 20,000 rupees. Then, so he bought how many shares in the second company? Number of shares in the second company is, this is the selling price, 180,000. So he spent all the money he received by selling. So 180,000 over 25. So how many shares he bought? 25 times 7, you get 175. Divide by 25, you get 7. So 5,000. For 5,000, this is 2. So 7,200 shares he bought from the second company. And it says, what was the price per share here? You can find out. Now, from the first company, he got 20,000 rupees. So, the second company, he got 8,800 more than what he received. So, what was the income from second company? 20,000 plus 8,800 more. 28,800. Now we have number of shares 7,200 and this is this value. So you can find out the dividend price for the dividend per share. 28,800 divided by 7,200. So 4. So 4 rupees for the second company. Find the annual dividends per share that the second company paid. Miscellaneous exercise. First one, Malki placed 50,000 for a year in a fixed deposit with a financial institute which pays an annual interest rate 12%. At the end of the year, she withdrew the money and used the principal amount and the interest she received to buy shares in a company, pays annual dividend 4 per share. She bought the shares at the market price of 28 per share. Find the annual interest Malki received from her fixed deposit. So what's the annual interest? Interest rate is 12%. So 12% of 50,000. 6,000 rupees. Part 2. Find the amount she invested in shares. So amount she invested. So what's the amount she is getting? 50,000 plus 6,000. So 56,000 rupees she is investing in the company. Third part, find the annual dividends income she received from her investment. Now we need to find out number of shares she bought. Number of shares is 56,000 rupees divided by 28. 2,000 shares she bought. So what's the annual dividends? Income is 2,000 into 4 per share. So 8,000 rupees. With reason, state whether it would have been more profitable for Malki to have reinvested the principal amount together with the interest in a fixed deposit with a financial institute for another year than to have invested in shares. So which one is more profitable? Now, when she invested in the company, she got annual dividend 8,000 rupees. What about when she again keep this money in the bank for another year? What's the interest she's getting? So this is fourth part, interest from bank for another year. 56,000, again 12% interest. $6,720. So which one is more profitable? Investing in the company. So we can write down 8,000 is more than 6,720, therefore more profitable investing in the company. Question number 2. An investor who owned 1,500 shares in a company which pays annual dividends 2 per share and sold these shares at the market price of 32 per share after they received the annual dividends income. He invested money he received by selling the shares in another company which pays annual dividends of 2 rupees share market price at which he bought the shares in the second company was 40 rupees per share. Show that the ratio of the dividends income from the first company to the second one is 5 to 4. So here 1,500 shares and dividend 2 rupees per share. Sold these shares at the market price of 32. So what's the selling price? 1,500 into 32. 32 into 15. 448,000 rupees. What's the income from dividends? Two into 1,500, that's 3,000 rupees. He invested the money he received by selling the shares in another company which pays annual dividends of 2 rupees. Now he spent this amount. So 48,000 to buy shares from this company. So how many shares he bought? Number of shares is equal to 48,000 divided by 40. You get 1,200 shares he bought. Then each one, what's the dividend price for the second company? That's 2. So what's the income from second company from dividends? 2 times 1,200. 2,400. So what's the ratio? So ratio between company 1 and 2. First one, he got 3,000 rupees. And the second company, he got 2,400. Divide by 100 and divide by 3, 10 and 8. Divide by 2 again, 5 and 4. So we got the ratio 5 to 4. Question number 3. Udesh took a loan of 40,000 rupees from a financial institute at an annual simple interest rate 12%. With this loan, he bought shares at 20 per share in a company which pays annual dividends of 450 rupees per share. After 3 years, he sold all the shares at the current market. So after 3 years, he sold for 28 rupees per share and paid off the loan together with the interest. Show that Udesh made a profit of 28,600. So here from the loan, so this is after 3 years. So what's the amount he needs to pay out for 3 years? Amount needs to pay for 3 years. 40,000 plus the interest. Interest is 40,000, 12% interest for 3 years. Now simplify and find out the amount. So 40,000, 3 times 4, 12, 12 times 12, 144, 2 zeros. 400, 4 and 5. 54,400 he needs to pay for the bank with the loan and the interest. Now that amount, now he took 40,000 and invested here. How many shares he bought? 40,000 divide by 20. 2,000 shares he bought. And what's the profit from, what's the income from dividends? Income from dividends, 2,000 into 450. So here you have to multiply by 3. This is for 3 years. So what's the value you are getting? 4.2 into this one is 9. 9 times 3, 27 and 3 zeros. 27,000 from the income from dividends. So what's the income from selling? Income from selling is 28 into number of shares, that's 2,000. 56,000 rupees. So what's the total amount he gets? Total amount receiving 56,000 plus 27,000 rupees. 83,000 rupees he is receiving. And how much he needs to pay for the bank loan and the interest? 54,400. What's the profit? So profit is equal to 83,000 minus 54,400. What's the value? 6. So the value is 28,600. Question number 4. Upul invests in a company by buying shares when the market price of a share is 48 rupees. He plans to sell the shares when the market price has increased sufficiently so that his capital gain upon selling the shares is 30% of his investment. At what price should he sell a share for him to achieve this? So we'll take the selling price as X. So what's the percentage gain? Capital gain. So what's the capital gain? 30% is the capital gain. That's equal to selling price minus the buying price over buying price into 100. Now cross multiply and find out the value. 48 into 30 is equal to 100x minus 4,800. 1,440 is 100x minus 4,800. Take it to this side. 100x equals, add this amount, then x equals 6,240 divided by 100. That's 62.40. So what's the selling price? Therefore, selling price is equal to 62 rupees and 40 cents. In this lesson, we covered all examples and exercises related to share market. Make sure that you know all the terms in share market.